Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. It's been 12 months since I last made a video on this channel, and I do apologize for that, guys. It's obviously the health and the lungs with long COVID has made it impossible for me to at the time do videos and try and balance the Arsenal stuff as well. But I am back. I've been trying to get back for a while, but it's just been able to find the consistency and the spark as well in order to get back. I've been reading comics since '74. As a boy, possibly read Superman comics more over the '70s and '80s, which is the bulk of what I was reading. That's mostly along with Batman, and that's where my love for DC comes from. And David Cornsweet, his portrayal of both Clark Kent and Superman is generally charming. They didn't really pull off the mask aspect as well as Christopher Reeve. So I think that they gave Christopher Reeve more time to develop as Clark Kent. With Christopher Reeve, you thought that Clark and Kal-El was two different people because Clark was the representation of how he sees humans, weak and flawed. But you never got that here with David Cornsweet. And even when he was Clark Kent, you that demeanor was still Superman. I think there was only one scene when he rushes into the Daily Planet and the guy calls him an idiot or something like that. That's like a 3-second scene. So James Gunn clearly wanted to feel that this was Superman whether he was in a suit or not. It really didn't make any difference. And because of that, he feels like an incredibly relatable, grounding character. Christopher Reeve pretended to be human, but this Superman truly believes he is human. This humanity aligns perfectly with what James Gunn wants in this new universe. It's what is there to be embraced for a more hopeful tone that audiences have craved. And I say that because I feel the bright, colourful and hopeful version would make a lot of casual fans and those Marvel fans very happy. But if you're a fan of Man of Steel and the Snyder tone, this is as far away from that as it could be. It's very Silver Age, 60s and 70s. It's not really the hard-edged John Bryan Man of Steel from the 80s or Jim Lee's New 52 from the 90s. It's just really not that. And I honestly think that was the best Superman, in my opinion, which is what made Henry Cavill so special in the hearts of DC fans. But I appreciate this new film, and it's focused on a Silver Age Superman, and I'm here for that. But he wanted the dialogue and the humour to really be the strength of this movie. Yes, it's cheesy. Yes, it's a bit campy. But that's what people seem to love in terms of the masses. Yet, I felt sometimes it felt out of place with the character. A funny Superman doesn't work for me. It's not why he was created. But hey, this is what the masses wanted, and it's what James Gunn gave them. And we know from Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn, he brings a sort of comedic inclusion of lesser heroes as well. And that's great for the audience, because who wants to see the same old heroes and characters over and over and over again? It's mainly been the same old heroes over again. And I think when you looked at Suicide Squad and what he's done with Guardians and with Peacemaker, Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, those characters would have never really come to the forelight had it not been for James Gunn. The problem is, in this film, while it's great to see them represented, their backstories were never really explained. We wasn't told who Guy Gardner was. We wasn't. And the fact that there is 6 Green Lanterns. So we know for sure we're going to see 3. But you guys know Hal Jordan, he's the most iconic Green Lantern. And that's the one where we've seen all the animated movies, and Ryan Reynolds' movie as well. He's considered the greatest and a central figure in the Green Lantern mythos. But John Stewart is widely known in the 90s from the Justice League Unlimited series. And he's a prominent Green Lantern known for his military background and association with the Justice League. Now, Guy Gardner has been around since 1968. And he's been a member of the Green Lantern Corps. He's known for his aggressive personality and sometimes serving as a more sort of violent member. And then there's Kyle Rayner, originally chosen as the sole Green Lantern after Hal Jordan retired. And he's an architect, so he's known for his creativity and connection to the emotional spectrum. There's also Jessica Cruz, A more recent addition, she becomes a Green Lantern and works alongside Simon Baz. Simon Baz is known for carrying a firearm. He wears a gun alongside of his power ring. And those of you who have watched more recent television series, including Stargirl, will know the original Green Lantern from the Minutemen series in the 40s, Alan Scott, from the Golden Age, who uses a different power source called a Star Heart rather than a power ring from the Green Lantern Corps. So you don't kind of really hear much in the way of origin with these guys, and we wasn't told about Hawk Girl either, or her reincarnation, or her alien Thangarian origins. Most importantly, the nth metal which powers her wings and her powerful mace. To summarize, 3 women have held a mantle. Shara Sanders Hall, Shiera Hall, who you saw in Justice League Unlimited, who fell in love with John Stewart Green Lantern, and Kendra Sanders. Now, Kendra is the person that is in this movie. I thought it was going to be Shiera. But she wasn't in the JLL series. She was in Legends of Tomorrow. So most of you who remember the CW show, this was the Kendra from there. And nth metal is like Marvel's vibranium. But while Black Panther's metal absorbs energy, nth metal has gravity negating effects, which helps them fly. They can carry objects like 70 times heavier than themselves. It generates heat aura, so it also allows the user to regrow missing limbs through regeneration. And regeneration is part of the reason why they resurrect as well. But none of that is explained in this film. It's the reason why I'm telling it to you now, because at least you know. Mr. Terrific, he was never explained, although he is the 3rd smartest man on the planet. People will know the character from the Arrow TV series in the CW. Curtis Holt was the person there, and he's not the same person now. This is the original Michael Holt. This is the version that is genius level intellect, proficient scientist, engineer, physician, in medicine as well, the use of his T-spheres, which is makes him invisible to technology, a skilled athlete and martial artist. People have said this is DC's version to Reed Richards. The guy has 14 PhDs in various fields. He has a photographic memory, meaning he's incapable of forgetting anything. And Metamorpho, he's been featured in a few cartoons of late, especially Batman The Brave and the Bold. They did go into a few details about his ability with elemental transmutation because of his immortal status as well. That means he can't die. So they did paint a picture for some, but mostly not all of them. And in that way, James Gunn fast tracks this film. He expects, as a comic book fan, for you to know these things, meaning he doesn't waste time with any origin stories. It's a choice that some will like. For this reason, it works because I already know their history. And this allows James Gunn to bring in a strong emphasis on how relationships can shape Superman's value and his world. And that's where the movie really does well. Now, David Cornsweet brings a warmth and sincerity to Superman's character. He feels like someone who generally cares. It's not just a symbol of power, like the S on his chest, which is what we've known from Superman before. And I also want to address the fast pacing. Some are saying that the movie was just too fast, it flipped from one scene to the other, but guys, for me that was meant on purpose. Because in an interview with James Gunn, he said, can you imagine how chaotic your day would be if you were Superman? From the moment you wake up, there's problems from 7 streets away to 7 continents, meaning there's not a moment's rest. It's one of the most unexpected but touching moments for me, seeing a film through the eyes of Superman, which is so chaotic. You know, falling debris, people screaming for help, crumbling buildings. Superman cannot pause for 1 minute, and I think the pacing of this film reflects that. But at one point, it got really silly. You know, James Gunn went all out. He even had Superman picking up a squirrel that was trapped on a ledge, flying it to safety before returning back to the action. Yes, it's a small gesture, but it speaks volumes, because for him, it shows no life is too insignificant for him to protect. I thought that was a bit too much, to be honest. But the message is in this film, and it's something that Lex didn't understand. Lex, guys, he's jealous. But let's talk about him. So I just want to cover Lex Luthor and his plan and show the consistency why it all makes sense. In the 1978 film, Lex's plan involved using a nuclear missile to trigger a massive earthquake along with San Andreas's tectonic plate. This would cause California to sink into the ocean, and this would create a valuable beachfront of property for him, while simultaneously eliminating Superman, destroying the West Coast. Now, this version is played by Nicholas Hoult, who delivered a chilling performance. Instead, it represents the darker side and the ambition and control that he wants. Remember, Gene Hackman's 1978 version dropped 2 nuclear weapons on America just to get his point across. One of them was to kill Eve Tessmacher's mother. Lex is ruthless, guys. And this is the same plan as we saw in Lex Luthor, Superman Returns, with Brandon Roth. He's genuinely insane too, and it matches the narrative we've seen from the original film, where Lex created a growing sort of landmass to use the Kryptonian crystals, where he wanted to create that landmass where it wouldn't stop growing. It would overtake the world and people would be begging him for landmass. So we kind of see some consistencies in that. In this new film, Lex is a complex antagonist. The old saying goes, if billionaires were good, they wouldn't be billionaires because they would be spending on their money on helping and saving people. But they don't. They spend money to enrich their own values, to get richer and richer and richer and richer. Now, Lex is one of my favorite characters ever. And I really don't think that any single image sums up who he really is as a person. No matter how much money Lex has, he could never be what Superman is. He could never have what he has. He's fixated on Superman because he doesn't understand him. Superman, he thinks he would never struggle with anything in his life, and that he has all the power in the world and money and fame. And he thinks as well, Superman could achieve all those 3 things in one go without blinking an eyelid. And that destroys Lex's mind. It corrupts him. It makes him think, I want power, I want money, I want fame, and I have to work so hard for it. But Superman doesn't. It takes a special kind of storytelling to convince your audience that a villain is as evil as Lex only hates Superman because he doesn't trust him and he cannot be him. And he spends all of his money trying to discredit and kill him. And that's how Lex Luthor has always been. Also, guys, I just want to say, you might be bringing your kids to see this movie thinking it's a kiddie movie and it's a light of tone. But there are some dark scenes akin to the Dark Knight's Joker pencil scene, where Lex ruthlessly kills a man playing Russian roulette. So just be aware. I bet that scene really shocked a few parents. But James Gunn's just letting you know he still understands the building blocks of DC Comics and the rough edge that follows it. For Superman, the cost of choosing kindness becomes a real conflict throughout the film. And the situation between the nations of Bavaria and Jehabapur forces Superman to make a stand that he'd be avoiding up to this point normally. But Lois, I love the way she challenges him on this, and that also impacts the film and their relationship and all the things that he stands for. For me, James Gunn nailed that part. They have that relationship, Superman and Lex Luthor, like in Smallville. Although Lex still holds the trump card, and he doesn't trust Superman, much in a way like Bruce Wayne, it's believed that by them, one day Superman will crack and one day he'll turn evil. And Lex and Batman is the only 2 people that will understand that this one day may happen. But for Lex, it's about the envy too. He wanted love and appearance. He wanted Lana Lang. He envied the hell out of Clark. So I think because of that, James Gunn really nailed Lex Luthor in this film. Rachel Brosnahan, she was solid as Lois Lane. I felt she gave all of the gravitas that we needed from that character, but I felt she didn't have enough to do. I still think that she was top class. I mean, my favourite Lois Lane is Terry Hatcher. But this Lois Lane was still sharp, still witty, very intelligent, and very true to her comic self. But I'd like to see more of her in the future. Remember, this is supposed to be a woman that's so complex that no man would love. And it's the first time ever in entertainment Superman history that we even hear her tell Clark that it's not going to work for these reasons. It's a real emotional grounding tag to the story. I'm glad they put that in there. Now, yes, there's the fight with Ultraman, But these things feel pointless. They don't really feel they carry weight because he always had a backup to help him in Crypto the dog. And his robots at the fortress will always use the sun rays to heal him. So it all felt too easy. It didn't feel like Superman earned or gained any of the trust. Anytime he got beaten up, you were never worried for him because, you didn't really panic for his life. It was never at risk for me. And that being said, though, the film looked gorgeous. Cinematography, the lighting was just beautiful to look at. And the scenes looked like artwork come to life. And there were moments where I sat there with a smile thinking, this is the start of a new era and this is how you do it. This is the base level. This is the expectations. Now from here, we just go upwards. And this is where we talk about the most controversial part of the film, the message. Now, if you've forgotten, guys, I'll read the message for you. The message was from Jor-El and Lara Zovaan, which is Superman's parents. Jor-El says, the people here are simple and profoundly confused on Earth, weak of mind, spirit and body, lord over the planet as the last son of Krypton. And his mother Laura says, dispatch of anyone unable or unwilling to serve you. Kal-El, take as many wives as you can so your genes and Krypton's might and legacy will live on in this new frontier. Jor-El then says, do us proud, our beloved son, rule without mercy. And by the way, it was great to see Bradley Cooper, Rocket Raccoon, who was playing the role of Jor-El. That was surprising. So there's a few things I want to talk about in this context, guys. It was a brilliant twist, and it's been done before. So the context works perfectly. Where kids can get doctored all the time. Our parents shape the way we think and the things we say when we are young. And it almost sounds like what Omni-Man's message would be to Mark in the Invincible cartoon if he didn't live on Earth. But he did live on Earth, and we all know that Omni-Man turned on humanity. But the second part of the message, guys, was it real? I think that's the debate some people are walking away from the movie on. But yes, guys, it was real. That's what they did say. The difference, guys, is the way Lex presented it to the world. It was in a twisted manner. Guys, it's like hearing the same thing from someone who's positive or someone who's negative. It's the same situation, but because a negative person will paint everything in a bad light, it sounds worse. It's kind of a prefix to empathy and clarity and the knowledge that the impact it will have on those people you tell. But this, guys, is actually consistent with the new Superman cartoon which was released last year. In fact, it's very close to that film. Still finding his way, powers, purpose and heritage. In that cartoon, Clark encounters a hologram of his biological father, Jor-El. Once the data finishes updating, that version also of Jor-El wanted him to enslave the human race. But guys, I think this is where the film's tone and the hope and the goodness of Clark as Superman really pays dividends. He was raised by the Kents. And the scene where he sits down with Jonathan Kent at the Kent farm shows the choice that Clark has made. Superman is finding his place in a world filled with heroes, gods and monsters and villains. And James Gunn's Superman, Kal-El, is struggling with his identity because his parents meant so much to him, grappling with who he thought he was in terms of his biological parents, who he never knew, and their intentions. He didn't really learn until later in life. So Clark chooses through the Kents to live life in the light. And this is where the film succeeds. It's not perfect, but it's a good template to get this new DC universe going. On the flip side, there will be some people who like Man of Steel and think, yeah, it's still not that hard edge for me. But it is a better film than what we first thought. That doesn't mean James Gunn's film can't be good either. So for me, guys, I will hold my enjoyment and respect for Zack Snyder for giving us some of the best stories in DC history. But now it's James Gunn's turn, and I'm excited to see what's in store for us. This movie understands that Superman isn't just about raw power, but it's about hope and humanity, of which he has both. It's about the unwavering conviction to do what's right, even in the face of being cynical or the overwhelming odds against you. I have to say something about Crypto the dog though, guys. It's a great touch, and it follows a trend we've seen him do with Groot and Baby Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy. Bringing to life Crypto the dog to the big screen is a completely new layer of heart and charm to Superman's character. And as for Ultraman, well, we knew it was a Superman clone. It plays like how the boys' original comic did with Homelander, and how Bizarro should work, so I look forward to seeing that pay off at some point. I don't really have much to say on the music score. That's one of the parts of the film that I wasn't really impressed with. It was just copy and pasted from John Williams for me, or the Dark Knight Batman score from Hans Zimmer. Overall, the music and sound mix I thought was bland. But I do want to say, there's a lot of parallels with this film and the comic book version of Superman, like the Fortress of Solitude, the zoo. That was right out of the Silver Age, and that's why he wanted to save the kaiju. He wanted to make it become a part of his zoo. And also, I'm not the biggest fan of the Superman suit. I'm not going to hide that. I just don't like it. It just looks like cosplay. But that is also consistent in terms of the red trunks, which go all the way back to his first appearance in Action Comics and All-Star Superman. And also, the Pocket Dimension exists separately from Space-Time Earth, and we saw Peacemaker Season 1, that had it. So it's very possible that that's where Lex found the tech. Now, Kara Zor-El, Woman of Tomorrow, apparently Superman had agreed to watch over Crypto the dog while Kara spent time partying on other planets. And remember, guys, from the comics, she can only get drunk on planets with red suns, like Krypton. So it's worth noting that the script of the movie next year is written by Tom King. He's the same guy who wrote the Woman of Tomorrow story in the comics. And this shows us where Kara's effectively at the lowest point she's ever been, where she's celebrating her 21st birthday while feeling incredibly purposeless and full of pain. And Crypto the dog is doing his best to keep her company while she drinks non-stop. So I think for us, the stage has been set for Supergirl to embark on that unique journey in the film next year. But guys, this film, I didn't really have much expectations for this film, and I wasn't sure how it would play out because of my baseline love for Man of Steel, and obviously Christopher Reeve. But overall, I like it. I didn't love it, but DC has gained a part of something that Marvel seemed to have been struggling with of late. A new world building with a continuity without the need to stop and explain every little thing while trying to pay off things that you set up years ago and failed. There's just none of that here that we need to worry about. There's no real setup here outside of Supergirl, which I cannot wait to see. And Robert Pattinson, if he ever teams up with this version of Superman, that would be gold. I mean, the two of them, the dynamic would just bounce off each other in an incredible way. But overall, guys, this feels like a Silver Age comic. Like an episode of Justice League Unlimited. I remember watching the 4-hour cut of the Snyder cut of Justice League. And I've watched that 6 times. My 7th time was when it was in the Black Noir version, the black and white version. So I give this film a 7.9 out of 10. I don't think it's got the replay factor, but for the world building, James Gunn has all the right elements working seamlessly here. A good balance of everything, with this being the closest to the 1978 original film that we've ever seen. Cheers, guys. Subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.